Okay, good morning. So, what we're going to do this morning, if we remembered last week, as we get on this thing, where we're in Joseph, right, or we're teaching about Joseph. We're going to talk for a minute on that. I'm going to jump kind of to a different deal, just a little bit, kind of still in the same lines, but I'm just going to jump a little bit. But let's go over there first to Genesis. What did we talk about last week? We talked about as Joseph is in prison, right? He's in prison. You have the cupbearer and you have the baker, and they've come to him, and they were having a sad countenance. They were upset. We talked about last week that he had the ability to look at them and see their sadness, right? He had built a relationship with them and was able to see their sadness, see what they needed. He asked them the question, what's going on, or what can we do, and he cared for them. And the three things that we talked about last week was, how as a Christian do we view other people, and how do we do with that, and the ways that we serve other people, just by serving, by caring, by our actions. When you think about our faith, right, we talked about our faith is not just saying that I believe, right, and saying yes, I know that God, but putting actions to our words, and actually going out and helping, serving people, loving people, building relationships with people. We've tried to do that. I'm not the easiest one to build relationships with people, because I continually screw them up, right? Get fired up at people, have to go ask for forgiveness, do whatever, but that's the way that the Lord has made me, and so we're just moving forward on that. So he asked them, let's look at this Genesis 39, and then we're going to kind of jump to another story that we're going to talk about. But so he asked them, the baker and the cupbearer, right? Genesis 39, and we're in verse 8. Why do you look so sad? And they said to him, we each have had a dream, and there is no interpreter of it. Now, this is Genesis 40, and that is verse 8. Now, we've talked about before that back in that time, right, the dreams meant a big deal, right? The dreams were a big thing to them. Not to have an interpreter, this dream, that's what's sad, because they know there's a reason for the dream. They know there's something going on with it, but there's no one to interpret it. They're down there sad. What was the gift that the Lord had given Joseph? The interpreter of dreams, right? So he gave him the ability to interpret these dreams. We had talked about before, and we may go into that at some point further on, another Bible study, but the gifts the Lord has given us, right? The Lord has given us gifts to use in our lives. Sometimes we know what those are, sometimes we don't know what those are. And if we know what the gifts are we using the gifts that the Lord's given us, right? So Joseph right here, he knows his gift is to interpret dreams. That's exactly where the Lord put him, to interpret the dreams and to do what he's supposed to be doing. So they say there's nobody to interpret these dreams. And Joseph said to them, this is verse 8 still, he said to them, do not interpretations belong to God? Tell me them, please. So he's down in prison, right? He's been brought up, he's brought down, he's been in the pit, he's been in the house, he's been wherever he is. Now he's back in prison. Right here, he has a chance to lift himself up and say, hey, man, I can interpret your dream, and kind of lift himself up. Let's look over here, and this is kind of jumping ahead, but Genesis 41 and verse 16, this is when Pharaoh has his dreams, right? And he doesn't have anybody to interpret them and whatever. And so they come and they say, hey, there's this guy Joseph in prison who can interpret dreams. This is Genesis 41:16. Pharaoh saying, it is not me, but it is God who will give Pharaoh an answer. Again, Joseph lifts up the Lord in that thing. So what I want to do is I want to switch over now to a situation that we do remember. Daniel. Does everybody remember Daniel and what happened to Daniel? And do we know a background on Daniel and things like that? So we're going to switch over there, because are we lifting up the Lord when people have a problem, people have a situation, whatever it is, and we can benefit from helping them with the things that the Lord has gifted us with? Are we giving credit to God, or are we taking the credit for ourselves? That's a question, right? As I go out in my life and I do the things that I do I do it because I love the Lord and I'm trying to give him credit for that? Or I love myself and I'm trying to get the glory for that, right? That's a good question. You look at Joseph, who is a example of the Lord, right? And everything that he does, he gives credit to God, right? So we are commanded to what? To spread the word and to get, that's right. That's what we are here to do. right? That's what we're here to do. Now, do we do that? I don't know if we do that or we don't do that, right? So let's turn over there. Let's turn over to Daniel, okay? And we're going to turn over to we're just going to go through a few verses. Let's go to Daniel 1, and we're going to go through. Does anybody know in here what it is that with Daniel and what the situation is before we start that? Do we know what? Well, we'll just go over there to Daniel. Okay, let's go over to Daniel 1. Now, what we have in Daniel, okay, and this relates to where we're at in Joseph, okay? Even though, Dad would say that you jump around and I go to different stores and I get out of different books and I'm kind of spastic in that. I do that. I really do that. But I want to give an example of in Daniel what happened and kind of walk you through that, because that's a good example of whether we take credit for what we do or whether we give credit to God, okay? And are we willing to take the responsibility that comes along with lifting God up in our lives? Because is it always easy? As we look at our lives, when I give God credit for the things that are done, does that make this world happy? Tell me if this world, they don't want to hear that, man. People don't want to hear that when we give credit to God, man. We want all the glory, right? Look over here in Daniel, and we're just gonna roll through this. This is Daniel, and this is chapter 1. What happens? You're talking about you have the king of Babylon, who is Nebuchadnezzar. Okay, he goes over there to Jerusalem, and he overtakes Jerusalem. He takes captives back, right? Daniel 1 over there, Becky. You get that? He takes captives out of Jerusalem, okay, is what he does. Now look who he takes. He goes over there and look at Daniel 1:4. Young men in whom there was no blemish, good looking, gifted in all wisdom, possessing knowledge, and quick to understand, who had the ability to serve in the king's palace. So he goes over there with the intention of, I'm going to take these Hebrews and I'm gonna take them back and I'm gonna build them up in my kingdom and I'm gonna train them and I'm gonna do whatever and for my glory, for my benefit, for whatever. So he goes over there and he takes these guys. And the point that he's trying to do with these guys, he says that as you move down just a little bit further, it says that he will give them a daily provision of the king's delicacies, the wine that they drank, and 3 years of training. So he's going to train these guys up, right? He's going to feed them his stuff. He's going to train them up in his ways. The point is that he's going to lift his kingdom up and get benefit out of that. That's what he's going to do. Now you got to think that this is kind of the same way that Joseph, who came from, his dad's, he was taken captive. He was brought over. He was put into a house to serve. He was, they're trying to take away his, his beliefs, and they're trying to make him up to be what they want him to be. Same thing with Daniel over here. They're taking him out. They're trying to break him down. They're trying to take him out of where he's at. When we get put in a different situation, do we continue to lift up the Lord? That's a good question. You think about all these kids that are getting ready to go to college and are in college and they've been trained in the ways of God. We've lifted them up. We've done the things. As they go away to college, the world tries to eat them up, right? They try to take them over. As we go out into the workforce or whatever, they try to change us. They try to say, you can't follow this. You can't. We're going to take your customs. We're going to take your God. We're going to take all that out of you. That is what the world's trying to do to us. Are we staying strong in that? Joseph stayed strong in it, right? We're going to look at Daniel right here and see what he did. And I want you to think about in our lives, are we staying strong in our faith? Are we doing what we're supposed to do because God deserves that? Or are we just going out there and it's so easy to just switch and say, well, that stuff my parents taught me, that stuff that I learned, that stuff, I'm just going to listen to whoever and I'm just going to go do my thing, right? Because I'm telling you, looking at the world and looking at the history, that's where we're at, right? It doesn't take a second. I'm dealing with my kids. I'm just telling you. So as you look at Daniel, he's over there. They're going to raise him up. They're going to 3 years of training. They're going to give him good food. He's going to do everything. So what's he do down here in verse 8? This is Daniel 1:8. It says, but Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with a portion of the king's delicacies. In his heart, right? Where does our faith come from? If we have a head knowledge faith, right? How easy is it to change my mind on things? Pretty easy. If I believe something in my heart, if it's in my heart, then I'm not going to change that, right? That is something that's in me. In his heart, he said, look, man, I'm not going to be defiled by the king. I have my customs. I have my God. I have my beliefs. I'm following what my beliefs are. It says in his heart, he purposed that he would not defile. He made a decision that said, look, I am not going to do this. I don't care what the consequence is. I'm not going to do it, right? We would be better served if we would go out in the world and say, you know what? I've talked to my kids about it. I've talked to you guys that if I make a decision that, look, when I get out there, these are the things that I'm not going to do, right? These are the beliefs that I'm going to hold. I don't care what the world tells me. I don't care if they ridicule me. I don't care if they make me feel bad and whatever. I am going to purpose in my heart to do what God has told me to do, right? So he says he purposed in his heart. He's not going to eat those things. And it says he requested of the chief of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself. He said, now God had brought favor and goodwill into the chief of the eunuchs. So again, the Lord blessed him just like Joseph, right? Joseph was elevated everywhere he went. Daniel was elevated here, and he had favor with the chief of the eunuchs, probably because of his demeanor. And, do you ever, now this is a question online, this is a question from you. Do we ever get favor by being a jerk or being, I'm telling you, I work with people, right? Grumpy old men, grumpy old women, right? I'm grumpy, right? Dad's grumpy. Do we get favor? Do people give us favor by what we do if we have a bad attitude towards things? If Daniel went over and said, man, you took me and I'm telling you what, I'm not going to do this and you're not going to get any favor. You know what Sharon says, you get more bees with honey than you do with vinegar. Okay. He had favor right here. When we have favor, people will listen a little bit more to what we say, right? When we act appropriately, when we are nicer, if I go into the gym and I bully people like they say that I do, I don't get a whole lot of favor. But if I'm nice and friendly, then I get a little bit more favor, right? Okay. What is it? Put your thing on. What is the thing that I have a small confession?
Chad does have one small confession.
I don't know what it is. I've got
The
a lot
guy
of
that you called the
confessions.
big fuzzy head.
Yeah, but no.
Come on.
That was not, that's, so I'm in the gym, man, and there's this little fella, this is this week. So I had to apologize for this too, man. And I didn't mean anything by it, racist or anything, any other thing, man. Sitting on his machine, right? Dipping around on his phone. We needed to use that machine. So we asked this guy 3 times nicely, can we use this machine? Can we work in with it? And he kind of looked up on his phone, blah, blah. Your age probably, dipping around, a little punk, right? Anyway, about the 3rd time, I said, this little fuzzy-headed kid, man, had better get off of this machine, man. He looked up at me, and I said, and whoop, there he goes. And I thought, man, that was not appropriate. Other people in the gym, my daughter's over here, right? He looks over and said, Dad, you can't say that, man. You can't do that. And I said, well, that's my confession that I more, with honey, right? Anyway, I apologize. I always apologize. So here he comes. He says, I'm not going to file. He had a better position. So the guy says to him, he says, well, look, as you look down further on, it says, Daniel said to the steward, who the chief of the eunuchs had set over Daniel. He's over there with his buddies, right? Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Please test your servants for 10 days and let them give vegetables to eat and water to drink. Let our appearance be examined before you. So he's saying, look, test the Lord on this, right? You're going to test us, but really you're going to test the Lord, because we are not going to eat your stuff. We are going to honor God. We are going to do our thing. So test him on this and see how we look at the end of this 10 days. And then you tell us if we can continue to serve our God or if we need to serve your God, right? That's what this says. And he brought other people, and he brought his buddies in there. And he said, test us on this, right? And this guy, because he had favor with him, said, okay, I'll let you have 10 days, right? And he tested them for 10 days, okay? So they're eating their own food. They're eating vegetables. They're drinking water. They're not eating meat. They're not drinking the king's wine. They're doing their own thing, right? And they're up against all these other people, and they're being tested on that. And it says, so if you get over here in verse 15, this is Daniel 1:15, and at the end of 10 days, their features appeared better and fatter in the flesh, right? And it says that then all the people that took the king's portion. So what did this guy say that was over them? He said, well, I guess your God can do it, man. And he says, as for these 4 young men, God gave them knowledge skill in all literature and wisdom, and Daniel understanding and all visions and dreams. So the Lord said, look, I'm going to bless you for following my command, and I'm going to bless you for following me, and I'm going to bless you for setting yourself outside the box, regardless of your circumstances, serving me, right? Same thing with Joseph, right? He said, look, you're gonna serve, you're gonna do, I'm gonna serve my God. I'm not gonna, what happened with Potiphar's wife? He went out there and said, I'm not gonna do it, man. What happened with his, with everything that goes on in his life, he says, look, I'm gonna serve my God. Regardless of where the chips fall, I'm gonna serve my God. Same thing with Daniel. He says, look, before us, we're gonna serve God. The Lord bless that. You got to test God sometimes and say, Lord, I'm doing this for you. Right? Does that mean he's always going to make us fatter and healthier and whatever? No, but it means that he's going to bless us and he's going to take care of us and he's going to, whatever that looks like to him, right? Whatever is best in our life, the Lord is going to do for us. Does that mean it's hard for us? Sometimes that's hard for us. Growing is hard. Serving is hard. Loving God is hard. But we got to stay faithful, right? And the Lord will bless us because of that. The Lord will bless us. So he does this. They were healthier, they were better. And then the king said, hey man, I want you to bring these people in before me so I can see how they are. And so down here at the end of the days, when the king, this is verse 18, when the king had said that they should be brought into the chief of the eunuchs, brought them in before Nebuchadnezzar, and he saw that they were 10 times better, right? 10 times healthier looking, 10 times better. They were doing well, okay? So that's what that is. Now, what was the vision, or what was the gift that he had given Daniel? Above the other gifts, understand visions, understand dreams, like we've talked about before. And you just got to put this into your life, that the Lord is going to give us the ability to do things that we need to do for whatever group we're with. He's going to give us the gifts. He's going to give us the ability. He's going to give us the strength if we will follow him to do what he's given us to do, right? He knows what Daniel is going to have to do here. So he said, look, I'm going to give you a vision. I'm going to give you the ability to follow these visions. He knew what Joseph was going to have to do. He said, I'm going to give you the ability to tell dreams. Because that's, so what is it in our lives that he's given us the gift to do, that we need to just step out and say, Lord, I know you've gifted me in this area. I know you've given me ability in this area. And I'm telling you what, I'm just going to step out and I'm going to do it. I'm going to step out and I'm going to have faith, and I'm going to give it up to you. Whether it's teaching, whether it's witnessing, whether it's praying for people, whether it's writing cards to people, I don't care what it is. Whatever he's gifted us, you need to do, and he will bless that. Okay. So that's what he's doing to Daniel right here. He's blessing that. So Nebuchadnezzar has a dream, right? Now, not only did he have a dream, he wanted this dream interpreted, right? So what's he say? Does he go out and he says to all his chiefs and his wise men and his sorcerers and all the people like that, and says, hey man, here's my dream. I want you to interpret this for me. Is that what he did? No, that's not what he did. He went out there and he said, I had a dream last night. You can look down. I'm not going to go through chapter 2 really, but he said, I had a dream last night and I want you to interpret it. And they said, okay, tell us what the dream is. And they said, no, I'm not going to tell you the dream. If I tell you the dream, then you're just going to make up your own interpretation. You're going to kind of fill the gaps. I want you to interpret the dream without me telling you what it is, right? Now look over here, what it says over here in verse, this is Daniel chapter 2, and it says in verse 13, this is the unit, all these people, it says, it is a difficult thing that the king requests. There is no other who can tell it to thee except the God whose dwelling place is not with the flesh. What's he saying? Even the sorcerers, his people, the soothsayers, they're all saying, look, man, if you don't tell us the dream, how can we interpret that thing? Only God can do that. Something that's outside of myself can do that, right? God's setting up a situation right here. He's saying, look, I'm going to make no question. Is there anything in our lives there's been no question that God has answered that prayer, that God has allowed us to do the thing that we're doing in that situation, whatever it is that you can think back to. I think back to a time in my life when I was praying that I could pray with this lady, that I could lead her to the Lord. She was an old lady. She was about to die, man, wealthy, right? This lady. And I said, Lord, I want you to give me an opportunity. Every time I go over there to her house, I'm doing home health. I'm not supposed to be witnessing anyway. On top of that, she's got servants, she's got cooks, and I'm telling you all the time, Had 3 or 4 people with her, all CNAs, man, all the time. And I said, Lord, I know she's dying. I know she's lost. I want to go in there and I want you to give me the ability to speak to her and tell her about you. Now tell me, does the Lord answer that prayer? When I say, Lord, I want you to lift this lady up. I want you to save her. I want you to give me the opportunity. And if you will give me the opportunity, then I will be obedient to do what you tell me to do, right? It wasn't the next day. I kid you not, man. I walk into this house, nobody. And I'm like, what is going on, man? I'm really not even thinking that about my prayer. I'm just kind of going in just a regular day. Nobody in this house. Knock on the door. I open the door. I'm like, what is going on? I walk all the way into the back room. This lady's laying in the bed by herself, not a servant, not a cook, nobody. And I'm telling you, the Lord says, okay, you wanted this, man. You asked me for this. Now you be faithful. It brings tears to my eyes because just the way the Lord, brought that up. And this lady's laying there and she's as clear as she can be, man. And I'm like, oh my goodness, man, you better be ready when you ask the Lord for something. If you ask it in faith and truly ask it, that I want to glorify you in this, Lord. I want to give you glory. And I led that lady to the Lord. I'm telling you, man, she accepted the Lord. I prayed with her. I'm talking 15, 20 minutes, nobody in there except the 2 of us. As soon as we were done, man, she kind of faded back out, people rolling in, man, and I'm like, what the? I can't tell you, man, what a blessing that is. But that's just right here. As you do it, he's saying, look, nobody can interpret this dream if you don't tell me the dream. And they say only God can interpret this dream, right? So he goes out and the king's fired up, man. He's fired up at his sorcerers. He's like, you guys are supposed to be able to do this. This is what I need you to do. I'm perturbed in this. I'm dismayed in this. I need an interpretation. So he goes through. And what's he do? It says down here, now we're still in Daniel 2, verse 12 or 13. So the decree went out. They began killing the wise men, and they sought Daniel and his companions to kill him. He's saying, look, what good are you if you can't interpret the dream that I have? What good are you? And I'm gonna start killing you guys, and I'm gonna take you out, and you're done, right? So he's looking for Daniel too, because he knows he's an interpreter, right? So as you move down a little further right here, and let's look at 14. It says, then this is Daniel 2:14. Then with the counsel and wisdom, Daniel answered Arioch, the captain of the king's guard, who had gone out to kill the wise men. He answered and said to Arioch, the king's captive, why is the decree from the king so urgent? Arioch made the decision known to Daniel. So Daniel said what? He said, so Daniel went in and asked the king. Now I'm going to tell you, this is pretty awesome right here. Daniel didn't know the dream. He didn't know what it was. He just knew this king who was fired up, killing the wise men, looking for him to kill, right? That's what he's doing. He says, he went into the king and he asked the king to give him time that he might tell the king the interpretation. He's like, look, I know the Lord's given me a gift of what I can do. I know I have the gift of interpretation. I know nobody else can. I know that they've said that only outside of the flesh am I able to, or would anybody be able to interpret this, right? Daniel goes into the king and he says, hey, man, give me a little time and I'm going to come back and I'm going to tell you this dream. The king's like, okay, man, I'll give you a little time, right? But Daniel, what did he do? It says down here in verse 17, Daniel went to his house and made the decision known to Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah, and his companions. He told his buddies that were over there, the same ones that before they decided they were going to follow God, and the same ones that said, we're not going to eat your food, the same ones that said, we're going to glorify the Lord. He said, look, guys, he said, that they might seek mercy from the God of heaven concerning this secret, that Daniel and his companions might not perish with the rest of the wise men of Babylon. Then the secret was revealed to Daniel in a night vision, and Daniel blessed God. So the Lord said, okay, man, you're going to be faithful to pray and to serve, and you want to lift me up and you want to show people about me. I'm going to show you what that dream is, right? Because I want to get glory and you don't want to get glory. It's not about you, right? So as you go down, Daniel tells the interpretation of the dream. Okay, we're moving through this thing. We're moving through this thing. So you have a background of where we're going. And he tells the interpretation without having the dream. He tells it. And over here in Daniel 2:28, as King Nebuchadnezzar, it said, but there is a God in heaven who reveals secrets and has made known to King Nebuchadnezzar what will be in the latter days, right? So he recognizes who this God is, right? He recognizes what his soothsayers can't do. He recognizes there is a God in heaven that can do this. How long does that stay with him? His belief that there is a God that can interpret dreams and things like that. How long does that stay with King Nebuchadnezzar? Because over here it says in verse 46, it says, then King Nebuchadnezzar fell on his face, prostrate before Daniel. The king answered Daniel and said, truly, your God is the God of gods, the Lord of kings, and the revealer of secrets, since you could reveal this secret. He tells him, look, I recognize who your God is. I'm going to recognize who he is. And it says, and he gave him, he promoted Daniel, gave him many great gifts. He made him ruler. And it says down here in verse 49, also Daniel petitioned the king, and he set Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who were the names that were given to them, right, when they came over, the companions that were with them. It says he set them over the affairs of the province of Babylon, and Daniel sat in the king's court. So now Daniel's lifted up, okay? His guys are lifted up, right? They're sitting in the king's court. They're overruling. How long does it take? And you think about this in your life right here. How many mountaintops do we get on, right? The Lord blesses us. Like that lady, the Lord blessed me to be able to talk to her. Well, I could go out that next day and I could go to somebody and try to see it, and they could hammer me, right? And they could do whatever. And how long are we on the mountaintop? That's my question, because everybody, they think, do we think that they stayed on this mountaintop, that they stayed on top? And did Joseph stay on top when he came out of the pit and went into Potiphar's house, and all of a sudden he was elevated up and he's doing great, and then boom, all of a sudden he's back down, dropped back down, elevated up, boom, drop back down. I just want everybody on here, everybody here to know that, look, that's life, man. I'm telling you that is life. That is the way it goes. But do we lose our faith? When God drops us down, when God tests us, when he puts another obstacle in our path, do we lose our faith? When we are tempted by something and we overcome one temptation and do well with it, do we think that temptation or another temptation is not going to come on us and hammer us again? No, we don't. We don't lose our faith. But John's saying we get discouraged and we lose sight of what's going on. And we lose sight of where the Lord is in our life. I mean, that's right. So they're on the mountaintop right here. Okay. So they're doing their thing. You got to think about who Nebuchadnezzar is. Is he saved? No, he's not saved. Is he really a believer? No, he's not really a believer. He knows that there's a God in heaven, though. There's a lot of people that know there's a God in heaven that are doing many things, but does that mean they have a relationship with him? That's something we got to think about. No, it does not. We all, even the devil and his angels, know who the Lord is, right? Does that mean they believe in him and they put him as Savior? No. Only when we put him as Savior do we do what? We change our lives, right? The only way we can see that we are a true believer is when we change our lives. We change our direction. We change our desires. We are a new creation, right? So this king right here, now let's look down here at verse or chapter 3. Okay, this is where it gets interesting. Okay, so you got Nebuchadnezzar, the king, made an image of gold. Now, so this king's feeling pretty good, man. He had the interpretation from Daniel. He knows what's going on. He's like, hey, man, I'm on top, man. I'm doing pretty good. I'm gonna erect this image of gold. Okay, 60 cubits, and its width was 6 cubits. He set it up, right? And what he said, then a herald, you look down in Daniel 3:4, then a herald cried aloud, to you it is commanded, O people, nations, languages, that at the time you hear the sound of the horn, flute, harp, lyre, whatever that is, lyra, psaltery, in symphony, with all kinds of music, you shall fall down and worship. Okay, the gold image that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. And he says, whosoever does not fall down to worship shall be cast immediately into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. Okay. Is Nebuchadnezzar really thinking that anybody's not going to fall down and worship this thing? He's a powerful king, right? I mean, he's pretty much in control. He's putting that out there. You're going to be put in the fiery furnace just in case, whatever. But I really don't think that anybody's going to kind of not do this, right? So he's saying, I want you to worship this thing. I'm gonna put this up and I'm gonna lift myself up and you worship this idol, right? So who would be, do we think if Daniel and his friends wouldn't eat the food, wouldn't drink the water or the wine, that they're gonna fall down and worship this big golden image? You know, as you make it, don't make one victory and then in our life screw something else up, right? As we're moving forward, when I make a victory and when I do something and say, I'm going to take a stand for the Lord and I'm going to do what I need to do and follow him, then we need to keep that stand, right? The world is watching us, right? I can make one good. Does that mean we're never going to fall back? Does that mean we're never going to screw up? Does that mean I'm not going to go in the gym and make a fool of myself, bully somebody? I'm going to go out here and do something stupid? No. But it is, life is hard and we're going to have mess ups, but we need to honor God and we need to go back and say, hey man, you know what, man, I screwed this thing up again. And God is in control of my life. And I'm telling you, I'm following him. And I know I messed this up. Say it as a parent, say it as a friend, say it as a coworker, right? I messed this up, but I'm telling you, I'm going to follow. They could have right here. They could have said, we've been through that. We're at the top of the game right here, right? We're leaders now in the community. We're doing well. Kind of like when Joseph's in, you know, doing his thing and he's getting elevated and he could have just kept on rolling through and doing his thing, right? They could have kept on and said, you know, what does it matter, man? Let's just bow down to this idol and let's call it good and let's move on. And this is, you know, whatever. And let's just roll through this thing and don't worry about it. And we'll keep our position on where we're at, right? Could have said that. They're saying, no, I'm not doing that, right? So he comes. Now, this is another point, and I want you to, we've learned this about Joseph, right? As we put our trust in other people, right? As he was elevated in the house of Potiphar, right? And Potiphar's wife came on to him and did her thing, right? Did he trust the people that were in there? He might have put a little trust in them. Who knows if he did or not. As soon as he said, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm not gonna sin against my God. I'm not gonna do it. What happened? Did the world stand up for him? Stand up behind him and say, you know, he's a good dude. He's done well for us in the house. Let's just let this pass and let him. And immediately he tears his robe off, right? He runs out, says, I'm not gonna do it. And she immediately takes that knife and says, you know what, man? You're not going to put me under the bus, man, and stabs him right in the back and says, I'm done, man, and turns on him in a heartbeat and gets him thrown into prison. Don't think as we go into our life and as you guys go into your school or your work or whatever that I can trust in the world, that the world is going to help me, that they're going to have my back on things. As soon as I turn and don't do what they want me to do, what are they going to do? Believe me, they're going to throw you under the bus. You know, is Chad over here doing this? I'll tell you, he was the one doing, right? This is Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They're in a power position. They're leaders in their community, right? They're in a foreign land. So all of a sudden, they're not bowing down. Okay, so what happens there? Let's look down to Daniel 3, verse 8. It says, therefore, at the time, certain Chaldeans came forward and accused the Jews, said they spoke to the king and said, haven't you made this decree? And I'm just going to paraphrase it. He said, they're supposed to do this. You're going to throw them in a furnace if they don't. Well, I'm going to tell you what, man, this Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego that you got over here, they're not bowing down. You think they were fired up at them and they wanted them out of that position? These Jews over here, they're not following what you tell them. You've elevated them, and here they are disregarding your commandment, disregarding what you want them to do. Aren't you going to throw them in the furnace? And does he get fired up at that and say, why are you not bowing down to me, right? I think, and as a Christian, everybody wants to throw us under the bus. As a follower of the Lord, as doing what we're supposed to do, not even as a Christian, if you're just taking a stand on what is right, the world is throwing us under the bus. They don't want to hear it, right? I told my daughter the other day, I said, look, man, you make your own decisions. Don't go on what people say and what your friends say and what this person says. You look at the issues that matter to you and you make a decision on what you want to do to follow those. You make a decision on who you want to follow and how I'm going to do it. Don't worry about what the world tells us, right? The world will throw you under the bus, right? Oh, yeah. John's saying that, other people in the world think their gods are right and they want to contradict us. And I'm going to tell you what, it doesn't matter what they believe. I'm going to tell you right here, it doesn't matter what they believe, right? When I look back at it and I look at what the Lord's done in my life, right? I don't care. You can tell me that, well, this God's the God over this, and I worship Buddha. I worship the leaves. I worship the flowers. I worship the ground. I worship whatever. I'm going to tell you what Jesus has done in my life, how he saved me, how he's changed me, how he loves me. It doesn't matter what you think. I'm not changing my view on that, right? That's how we need to be lifted up in that. The world will throw us under the bus. We stand strong. What's the Lord say? You're going to have tribulations. You're going to have trials, but don't worry about that because I've overcome the world. I've overcome this junk. Whatever it is, I'm going to lift you up in it, right? I think about when I got into college, right? I'm a changed person now, man. I used to smoke pot, man. I mean, I was into all kinds of things, basketball player, do-rag, doping around. I got into college on a basketball scholarship. My wife over here spent years and years and years trying to get into this program. I passed by 70 something people. Sure, come on in, man. No background, no nothing on that. You know how much the college hated me? How much they try to throw me under the bus, how much they try to get me out. That's what the world's going to do to us, man. I mean, they're going to try to throw us under the bus and they're going to try to knock us down. They say right here, they came and they said, look, these guys that are over these, they're not doing what you told them to do, right? And he's like, what? So let's go back over here, Daniel 3, and you look at 13, Nebuchadnezzar in rage and fury, right? The world can love you 1 minute, and I'm telling you what, the next minute, they can want to shoot you, crucify you. How long, we can't get into how long did it take from the Lord going, Hosanna, Hosanna, throwing palm leaves in the street, walking down till they say, crucify him. Shut him down, 7 days. I'm done with him, man. You think we're different than that? In a heartbeat, you will be thrown under the bus. So in rage and fury, he goes to Shadrach. This is Daniel 3:13. Rage and fury, he gave the command to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Right? He brought him to it, and he said, and he didn't even give him really, he said, you do not serve my God or worship the gold image which I have set up. And he kind of gives him a question mark. And he says, now, if you're ready, at the time you hear the sound of the horn, the flute, the harp, the lyre, and the psaltery and symphony with all kinds of music, you fall down and worship the image which I have made. Right? He's not even giving them an option, right? He's not even thinking that once he steps up and says, I'm the king, man. You might do this when you're out here in the world and whatever, but when it comes between me and you, when I blow this harp, man, you're going to fall down and worship. And there's no thinking about that. Doesn't the world do that to us in our job and whatever? I'm the boss. It doesn't matter what you think or what your beliefs are. I'm not giving you an option on this. When I tell you to do this, you better do it, right? There's no question on that, right? And we're like, well, what stance do we take, man? You're out at a party, man, someone offers you this or someone offers you whatever, and you say, well, and they're saying, here, if you want to be part of my group, man, if you want to be cool with me, if you want to be a boss in this company, then I'm gonna tell you, you're gonna do this, right? I mean, that's what the world does. And what do? I hope we stand up and say, not me, man. I'm not doing that. I'll tell you, I'm not doing it. But most of the time, what do? How many college students do we lose? I mean, the percentage is staggering, like 80%, right? Renounce their faith and go with the world and do whatever. I don't know if that's right or not, but that's close, man. And he says, you guys are going to bow down, right? They've been lifted up. They've trusted God. They've got their heart right. They know. Another point, and I know I get into all this stuff, but when they came over, when the king took them over to Babylon, who was it that took them into the group and who initially said to them, hey, man, the four of us, we're not going to eat your stuff. We're not going to drink your wine. We're going to trust God. And Daniel used his faith, am I wrong, to say to them and to lift their faith up, right? Because now, do you see Daniel anywhere in this thing? Daniel is nowhere there. They are now on their own faith, right? As we live our faith to the people that we're with, I don't care if it's your friends, I don't care if it's your mate, I don't care if it's your coworkers. As we live our faith, we can encourage and lift somebody else's faith up so that when they're in the trial, they're in the fire, that they can stand on their own faith in the Lord, right? That's what he did here. He said, you follow my example, and I'm going to lift you up, and I'm going to lift the Lord up, and then you're going to, at one point in your life, you're going to be able to stand on your own faith, right? We're doing that with our kids now. I'm going to show you my faith, man, and I'm just praying that when that time comes, that you can stand on your own faith. And that's what he did. These guys are now by themselves in front of the king. He's saying, you're going to bow down and worship, man. And they said, no, we're not. Look, I think this is awesome, and I just love it, man. And it says down here, he says, you're going to fall down and worship. Daniel 3:16, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego answered and said to the king. You got to think about the situation. That's like me going up to the president, or me going up to you can look at it on smaller terms, as me going up to my boss at work, right? How hard is it when you get called into your boss at work, your principal at school, your whatever, right? They said to the king, this dude has the power to kill them right there, right then, right? Said to the king, oh, Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. If that is the case, what is the case? If I don't bow down, you're going to throw me into the fire. If that is the case, our God whom we serve, right? Our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace. He says, look, my God's able to deliver me. I don't care what you say about my job, man. You can fire me. You can do whatever you're going to do. My God can deliver me. Now, is that a test of faith? When you put it in real terms, that's a test of faith. When I'm standing against the fire, that's a test of faith. It's hard enough when you're out in the world and you got to witness to somebody and tell them who you believe in or tell them what your beliefs are. That's hard enough, man, just doing that. Saying nothing about being at the fire where I could lose my job, I could lose my life, I could lose my kids, I could lose whatever. He says, we don't need to answer you on this. He says, our God is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us from your hand, O king. But if not, let it be known to you. I'm going to tell you what, I have so much faith. I know my God can deliver me. But if he doesn't, let me tell you something else. Even if he does not deliver me, right? This is his faith, man. But let it be known to you, O king, that we do not serve other gods, right? Oh, hold on. He will deliver us from your hand, O king. But if not, let it be known to you, O king, that we do not serve your gods, nor will we worship the golden image which you have set up. I don't give a rip what you say. It doesn't matter to me, because he's going to deliver me one way out of the fire. He's going to deliver me another way through the fire. But I'm telling you what, king, he's going to deliver me. If we went through our life like that, had faith like that, what kind of a difference would we make to our kids, to our coworkers, to our friends, to our spouse? What kind of a difference would we make, right? If we could stand up and say, I am following God regardless of what happens. Easy to say, hard to do, okay? So that's what he says to him. Now, you think that made the king happy? He's like, all of a sudden he reverts back and says, I don't give a rip who you are. You're not going to talk to me like that, right? Kind of like with my kids, man. I say something, they mouth up. You think you're going to talk to me like that? Pick your mug up and throw you down the hallway, man. Roll you into the room. That's the way that's going to go. I promise you, right? That's just our life, man. Done it, been there, man. Had to apologize on that stuff, right? We've done it all, man. We just live in life, man. That's the way it goes. He says, then Nebuchadnezzar was full of fury, man. This is verse 19. And the expression on his face changed, right? You ever seen that when you're up and somebody loves you and, oh, everything's good, and then you balk up to them, and then all of a sudden they're like, no, and you're in it now, boy. You better back up and get ready, man. He said that his expression on his face changed towards Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, kind of like the world does with us when we do not do what they want us to do and bow down and cower and do our thing, right? And it says, he turns over, look, it said he spoke to the commander that he heat the furnace 7 times more than it's usually heated. He said, man, heat that mug up, man. Heat it up and get ready. You can feel I sit out at my fire at home, man, and I have within 4 feet, man, I can feel my beard getting, whatever it is, man, burned and singed and right my legs and I'm melting my shoes, man, and I'm 4 feet off of a little fire. He says, heat that mug up 7 times we're going to heat that thing up. You're going to serve, right? You're going to bow. You're going to do it. And I'm telling you, I'm putting the heat up on you too, right? I'm telling you, that's our life. That's what people do. And it says over here, he heated that up 7 times, right? And certain mighty men of valor who were in his army bound Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, cast them into the fiery furnace. Now it said these men were bound in their coats, their trousers, their turbans, and other garments were cast in the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Therefore, because the king's command was urgent and the furnace exceedingly hot, the flame of the fire killed those men who took Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego up. It was so hot just getting close to it. The men that threw them in died. Okay. You think these are just stories and these are just fairy tales and this is real life, man. I mean, this is truth that they got thrown into this fire that they did. Now look here, man, I'm telling you, as we stand for the Lord in our life, do what he wants us to do, take that strong stand, we may get thrown into the fire, right? But what does God tell us? That we could go through the river and the river's not going to overflow us, right? We go through the fire, but it's not going to consume us. What does that mean in our life, man? Does that mean that we're not going to get heated up? We're not going to get fired up? We're not going to be panting for air, man? I mean, the Lord says, look, I'm going to deliver you, but you might feel the fire, right? You might suck in a little water, right? But I'm going to deliver you through this thing, man, one way or another, right? We're not there in America where we're having to make a stand for our faith that they're going to kill us over it, right? Other places they are, where they're standing in the firing line saying, you either denounce your God or you're going to be shot right here. I mean, but we're coming towards that, right? We're coming towards that. Take a stand right now. Set your determination on who you're looking at, right? So ends up being a win-win. That's right. That's right. Jeff said that it's a win-win, that you can either stand up for your faith and he's going to deliver you, or you won't and he'll deliver you too. I mean, that's the truth, man. One way or another, right? And I'm telling you, when you look at the world, the way that it's going, right? I wake up about every day and say, Lord, today's the day, man. Why don't you come on back today and take me? I'm getting sick of this, dealing with this stuff, man. Bring me up to heaven, man. Let me walk the streets of gold, man. Let me, I'm just telling you, man. So anyway, moving back to the story, here we go. So they're at this fire, they get thrown into this fire 7 times. The people that are with them, they get burned up, right? And it says, and the 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, this is chapter 3 in Daniel. We're looking at verse 23. And the 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down bound in the midst of the burning fiery furnace. King Nebuchadnezzar was astonished, and he rose in haste and spoke, saying to his counselors, did we not cast 3 men bound into the fire? Didn't we throw 3 of them in there? They answered and said to the king, true, O king. And look, he answered, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire. They are not hurt, and the form of the 4th is like the Son of God. That is the Lord with them in the fire, right? That is God walking with them through the fire, right? Do not think that as we go through our trials and our struggles, and we look at that and we say, I'm dealing with this on my own. I'm the only one that can deal with this. I'm getting. No, man, put our faith in the Lord, because he's walking with us, man. We don't serve a high priest that doesn't know what we've been through, right? That hasn't walked through our shoes, hasn't walked our paths, hasn't gone through our temptations, hasn't gone through our struggles. He's been there with us, but we need to lift it up in faith and say, Lord, I know you're with me through this thing. I don't know what you're doing in my life, but I'm telling you, I know you're with me. That's Joseph saying, Lord, I know you're with me. I don't know why I'm in prison. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know why I was thrown into the pit. I don't know why I have to deal with this stuff, but I know you're with me. Walk through this with me, right? That may not be easy all the time, but I'm telling you, the Lord is able to deliver us through that one way or another, like Jeff said. Either he's going to deliver us physically or he's not, but he'll be with us and he'll take us out and he'll be with us on the other end, right? So what do you do here? And I know we got about, I didn't even get through this story, man. We got through 2 words in over there in Genesis today. 2 words. That's terrible, man. Anyway, here we go. So it says that the king sees them in there, right? And you look down here, verse 27, it says, and the satraps and the administrators, the governors and the king's counselors gathered together. They saw these men whose bodies the fire had no power. The hair of their head was not singed, nor were their garments affected, and the smell of the fire not on them. You think about it when you're sitting out that fire, man. I come in the house, I'm like, man, I'm smelling like fire. My beard's all crunched up, man. I'm just telling you, man. These guys thrown in this fire, they didn't even feel it. They didn't sit and smell, no nothing, man. The Lord was with them. And it says that what did the king do because of that? And then we're going to end. It says down in verse 29, therefore, I make a decree that any people, nation, or language which speaks anything amiss against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut into pieces. Their house shall be made an ash heap, because there is no other God who can deliver like this. Does that mean that he became a believer? No. Does that mean that he recognized who God was? Listen, we all have our place, okay? And what I mean by that, I may be the one that goes out and witnesses to somebody and just tells them about the Lord. Says, you know what, in your situation, the Lord's able to deliver, the Lord did this, do it. Does that mean that I'm going to see them saved on my terms when I'm there? Maybe not, man. It may be the other one, right? Who knows? It may be Becky coming behind me and saying, hey, whatever, and that person sees something else. You never know what position you are to where you're leading. This is Nebuchadnezzar getting closer to knowing who the true God is. Okay? That's our life. So as you look back over here, that's a real life story right there. As you look back over here in Genesis, the what we're going to talk about kind of next week, and we're going to move on through this, is that the interpretation that Joseph gave, okay? He gave the interpretation to these guys, okay? I want to think about how honest are we in the things that we tell people in our lives, okay? He told one a good thing, he told one a bad thing, but he was honest to tell them the truth, right? When we think about our lives and what we're doing, are we telling the truth to people in our lives, right? I tell John the truth all the time. He doesn't like to hear it all the time, but I tell him. It is our responsibility in love to tell the truth to people, whether it hurts their feelings, whether it doesn't, whatever the case is, right? That's what we need to do. And that's what Joseph does here. And that's what we need to do. 10:28, good timing. Any questions, comments, whatever. I appreciate everybody online. It was good to see the Harvins online. I missed y'all in class, but that was good, man. Thank you.
As a
Yes.
Sunday school class, we were asked to, I'm trying to do the
forgot
volume
this.
here. We were asked to support, there's 4 families I think our class got for Christmas. I'll get details on that. Just it's basic, clothes, kind of like angel tree type thing. I have to read more about it. But I think there's 4 families they're looking for. So I'll get more information. Maybe we could split that up.
So in other words, what she's asking is anybody that wants to give, doesn't matter if you're online, in class, whatever, to support a family, just, we're just buying clothes for them, Christmas presents for them. I think it's a family of 4.
There's 4
We're just
families.
gonna, Oh, there's 4 families. I don't know how many we're supposed to,
I'll get
whatever
more
we can
details.
get, we're gonna support. We're gonna give and we're gonna do. That's what, Lord's blessed us, but no obligation, whatever, but what we can do, we'll do. So Sharon will get more information on that, okay? Yes, and Sharon will send out an email telling you ages and telling you things. I would say it'd be easier to give money maybe, and then we go by. I don't know. Sharon will send that out because I'm not going to put that on her. Okay. Right. So We can take
Yeah.
care of that. I have faith in that, okay? Anything else before I close? I think it's time to give up the room. I love y'all, man. I do. I love teaching. I just think about what we're doing this week and who we can bless and how we can stand up for the Lord, okay? I'm gonna stop the recording. I'm sorry. Stop. Hold on. I can't stop this thing. I don't know how to stop the recording on this thing. There. Okay.